All right, welcome to the Westside Community Council. Thank you very much for being here. First, I just want to recognize everybody that's here. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people here and we have a panel. We can't introduce everybody here, but I appreciate everyone that came, everyone that's here that spends their Wednesday. You can't hear? Now you can hear? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, Mr. Gallegos, can you recognize invitation to membership, please?
Hi, my name is Gerardo Gallegos. I'm the Vice Chair of the Westside Community Council. I will start by reading. Can you hear me? Is that better? This is my sexy voice.
We're impressed, but we need to hear it.
The Westside Community Council is a group of dedicated volunteers who live or work in the area known as the West Side. Since May 1994, we have been actively working to create a better, safer neighborhood in which to live, work, and raise our families. We are an organized, nonpartisan group of people focused on improving the quality of life for all on the West Side. The purposes of this corporation are to promote, support, and encourage community unity and revitalization. And if you would like to be a member of the Westside Community Council, see me after the meeting. I have these membership forms, and there is a $35 suggested donation if you want to become a member. Next month, we're going to have our elections. If you want to vote in that election, you have to become a member by tonight. Is it by tonight, James? Yeah, by tonight. So if you have not yet become a member, please do so. $35 suggested, but we will take much more than that to continue the work that we do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. What do I do with my... Do you have the agenda? Can I see the agenda? Thank you very much. Okay, so now we have an invitation for Spanish speakers. Mr. Tomas, come on up, please.
Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to say thank you all of you for being here and support us. As always, Westside Community Council, they're more than happy to support the Latino community. So if any of you need any support in Spanish, English, so we will be here to support you. Thank you very much again for being here.
Okay, thank you, sir. And next, I'd like to say special thanks to Caps Media. They're coming here to film, all for free. Actually, no, they just held up a receipt. No. Now, thank you guys. We always want to support our local media and television stations. Okay, next we have the Treasurer's Report. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, everybody. It looks like we need more chairs or benches. Yes, it's wonderful. Yeah, we have approximately $1,200 counting. Tonight will be more, right? With everybody's blessings. And stay cool, because it's warm outside yet. Very warm. But thanks for coming.
Okay, and we also we're going to be passing around the hat. Your donations really fund this. And by funding us, you're really funding your community. We could do projects, we could do special projects. We could take care of our citizens that way. So if you have a couple dollars, nickels, dimes, we'd appreciate it. So right here, Geraldo's going to be passing the hat. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and skip the patrol rush. It's going to be part of Commander Bronk's report. So we will go ahead with the Revi Committee. Suze Montgomery, come on up. You are next. Committee Chair Donna O'Neill is not here today. So it will be Suze Montgomery to give the report.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for showing up. I'm Suze Montgomery. I'm part of the Revitalization Committee. It went back to the old name. The other one nobody could remember, so we decided to go back. So the Revitalization Committee it's a subcommittee of this, and we're looking at specifics on the West Side that need attention or change, and specifically talking about traffic. Traffic is the biggest problem we have over here on the West Side. If you were involved yesterday or saw anything that happened with Highway 33, and the filming of the movie, I guess it was, it impacted the West Side from Stanley on up. So it was pretty much of a nightmare. We're also looking at housing. We are on top of any kind of housing. There's a core group of us that attend most of our city meetings, either planning commission, God knows where that's going, or also the development, DRC, Design Review Committee, and I think that's been disbanded. So that's gone. Cities making big changes at City Hall. So just to make, yeah, I know, I'm not happy about it either. But we still can have a voice. You can still show up at the revitalization committee meetings. And the last thing I want to encourage you to do is everyone in the room needs to get involved with the general plan. The general plan only comes up every so often, and this one is going to be critical. The last one, and this is going to sound pretty nasty to you city types, but the last one, the city drove the general plan, not the community. The community was not engaged. We did not have enough people from here in this group to go out there and say, hey, we have a voice, we know what we want, we live here, let's change things. Well, apparently now that we have enough people with the revitalization committee and others, we can actually change the course of this. So please get involved in general plan, and that we'll be having meetings and we'll be doing focus groups. We're going to do this until we get it right, because this thing only happens about every 10 years or so. And you need to have a voice in this, and since you live here, it's your community. Be involved. And so now we have a great panel behind me here, and we're talking tonight specifically about evacuation plans. If you were here for the Thomas fire, you know what happened. It was a nightmare. The traffic stopped. We couldn't get anywhere because of the impaction of all the vehicles we had. So there was one way in and one way out, and it took us, my husband, myself, and dog and cat, probably about 40 minutes to get down to the fairgrounds where the evacuation center was. They were not prepared. No one was prepared for the big fire. Nobody anticipated this. I think City Fire did an exemplary job for what they had to deal with. But again, I think traffic was the biggest issue and nobody could move. So please, please be involved in any of these committees or speak to me about it. I'm one pissed off woman. I'm trying to contain myself. But it's not easy when I see things that need to be changed and knowing that we can do them as a community working together. So please help us. We need a lot of work, and I know most of you in the room, please attend. It's going to be great if you do. Do you want me to introduce your panel? Or do you want to do it? I don't care. Yes, go ahead. Susan. The general plan meeting has not been scheduled with a date, but we will put it on the website. We'll put it on the Facebook page. We will get you the information. I don't believe that they scheduled the meeting yet. But this is critically important to be a part of this. If you don't know what the general plan is, it's going, like I said, it's your roadmap for the next 20 years, what's going to happen in this area of town. And you need to have a voice in what's going to happen here. Otherwise, you're going to see something pop up like a bad development, no parking, and you're going to go, oh my God, where'd that come from? There's a lot of things in the pipeline. And yeah, it's getting pretty bad now. Yes, Pete? I did not see that. Okay, it's on here? Oh, they were on the Facebook page. Well, we'll have to look at the Facebook page to make sure. Okay, the senior thing maybe you're referring to. Okay, I'm your chair of the Ventura Council for Seniors, which is the city group. I'm also the chair of the county group, which is the Ventura Council Area on Aging. 30% of this town are seniors. Hello? All of you need to be involved in this. We're making big plans, and you need to be in part of that as well. We're right now in the throes of doing a senior strategic plan for the next 20 years, what's going to happen with seniors with programs, classes, resources. And please be involved in that as well. That is on the city website as of tomorrow to take the survey and weigh in. Or go to one of the meetings. But if it's easier for you just to fill out the forms on the computer, please do. I encourage all of you to do so. If you're a senior, it might be tomorrow. You never know. Okay, so you want to introduce your group?
I got it. Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Suze. So we'll go quickly with old business membership and the November 6th board elections. That's going to be on November 6th. That's our next meeting. We're going to have board elections. We prepared a slate that will be mailed out and posted online in the next week or two. So be prepared for that. I hope to see you all there. Members are the only ones that can vote. So if you want to vote, if you want to be part of the process, please go ahead and fill out a membership right over there. If you have questions about your own membership, please see me afterwards. I have a list on my computer here, and we'll be able to tell you if you are a current member or not. And next, Steve Bennett's office and the county asked me to ask you guys about the closure of the Highway 33 during the filming, and that was today and yesterday between 9:30 and 2:30. And after the meeting, this will probably be the best way of doing this. Please come to see me and tell me what you think. If you had any problems, if you have any suggestions on how to do anything better than that, than what they did. I know the avenue was just torture if you wanted to drive up that. So please come and tell me, and I'm going to write everything down, and I'll send it off to them. Yes?
Can you tell us exactly where it was closed, from where to where?
It was closed from Stanley to Cana Larga. Yeah. Yeah. And so traffic was really just up and down the avenue, directed that way. Okay, so next, let's go to new business. We're going to have our panel, the Westside Emergency Preparedness and Evacuation panel. Here today, we have from the Ventura Police Department, Commander Derek Brunk. We have Ventura Fire Department, Fire Marshal Joe Morelli, and Battalion Chief Doug Meiser. And then we have Ventura County Emergency Preparedness Office Manager Dan Wall. Now, if you guys have been reading the newspaper, if you guys have been reading the VC Star, you saw an article that Mr. Wall is actually becoming our the first emergency service manager on the 11th. Is that correct? 21st, sorry, on the 21st. So I'll give it up. But he's going to be taking questions about the county because that's currently his job until the 21st. So if you want to approach him and ask him questions about the city or anything like that, how he's going to do his job after the meeting, that would probably be the best way to doing that. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to give you the instructions. So we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. They're going to give their presentations. That's about 10 minutes each. And they're going to come up one at a time to do it. And then we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. Now the Q&A, I'm going to be a stickler about asking questions, and they're about 1 minute to 2 minutes. Now, please ask questions. I don't want you to come up there and berate our city's finest here. We want questions. So if you could do that and watch your step, there's water there, but hopefully it'll be drying by then. But you will line up behind this mic to ask the questions during the Q&A, and I'll let you all know when to do that. Okay, are there any questions before we get started with our panel? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to have Commander Brunk. Come on up. Okay, give it up.
Hi, Derek Brunk with the Ventura Police Department. Thanks. So, being ready for an emergency. Obviously, not just the Westside, but the city over the last couple years has experienced a lot of tragedy through Mother Nature and things that were not expected. To be prepared, we're talking about evacuations and stuff like that. During the Thomas fires, to be quite honest, that was something that was beyond the capabilities of this police department, being honest. Beyond the abilities of the fire department. It was an event that even the people who came in to help us said they have never witnessed or seen in their lives. Hopefully it will never happen again here. The speed at which the fire moved, just to give you an example, when we were first responding our units to the east end of town to start trying to evacuate the hillside, by the time our units got there, we were already receiving calls from the hospital area that we needed to get units there to start evacuating. That's how fast the fire was moving. And when it got to the avenue, we had 0 units available to come over here. They weren't there. It's not something that you can plan for. the resources just aren't there, and the staffing's not there. It was too much. And you're right, I'm sure traffic on the avenue was at a standstill, Also, the infrastructure of the west side of Ventura was designed and built in the 1800s. I don't think they were thinking about transportation for the 21st century when they were building all of this. And that adds some complication to the whole matter. You just had this event that happened this last couple days. People love to come to the west side of Ventura. They like to do filming here. They like to do sporting events here as far as the runs. All of that impacts you guys. And most of the other part of the city, they don't want to do that. People don't want to go run on the east end of Ventura. West side of Ventura, you have the beach, you have all that other stuff, and it attracts people. So we understand that traffic is impacted. Last couple years, we've gotten ourselves a brand new traffic engineer. I think you can tell the difference in some of the things that are happening throughout the city, not just on the west end, but throughout the city. Much more active, much more interactive, and I would highly recommend that if you ever have the chance to speak to them about things that you like, I agree totally. Civic engagement, very, very, very approachable. But if your voices aren't heard, they don't know, and they need to know. So after the fires, and once again, admittedly so, overwhelmed by what was happening, and we couldn't get resources over here. Sheriff's Department tried to get people here. They were also inundated with what they were having to deal with. We had rains come, good and bad. You know, we need the water, we need the rain, but the potential, obviously, we have a hillside over here. That's a political hotbed. I'm not going to get involved in that. But obviously, people were worried about landslides. Up in Montecito, we saw what happened up there, and we didn't want that to happen here. Commander Murray, who was in charge of the traffic unit at that time, got together with Tom Herford, who's in charge of the traffic division for the city, and they came up with an evacuation plan in the event that we had flooding that was going to occur from the landslides. They're got a whole bunch of little maps. They're over there on the side. This was the plan that they came up with. This is on, if you want to find it, you can find it at the police department website. It just talks about exiting the people away from the hillside, getting them onto the avenue. So for everybody that's on the east side of the avenue, basically between Warner and El Medio, that's kind of the dividing line. Coming out to the avenue, people from Warner moving south, Warner north, go north. It's a simple plan. It's not using, I know there's some questions about using all lanes of traffic. The plan was not designed to use all lanes of traffic. The plan was designed to make it where we can also get first responders, fire, ourselves, AMR, the ability to get places. For anybody that's east of the avenue, basically the access or the egress would be on Olive up to either I'm sorry, west, thank you, sorry. West of. I'm getting all confused, you know. I'm sorry?
Visit more often.
West end of this town has been pretty much my home as a police officer, so I love it. So going over to Olive and basically breaking up off to the Stanley and then down to Main Street. Several years ago, we had the potential of the dam. I know there's been some question about the emergency system that they put up there. From my understanding, it's not operational anymore. The sirens, they don't go off. They used to test them. They don't go off anymore.
They were not maintained, and then some were removed, and I don't know how many are left.
Yeah.
David, weren't they like?
There's an auction for it or some of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And you can even like,
Yeah, so, you know, in the event that we had something happen up north with the dam or anything like that, I would hope that we have some time to get notice on that, but I can't say. So where does that leave us? I believe there's always hope.
Chance, though, if we could actually meet with Dan, I mean, a small group of us, and once he gets his feet wet here, you know, from the county, our new guy, and sit down and strategize some ideas. So for evacuation, it would be, I've got a traffic background, it might be more manageable.
Don't take up my whole presentation.
Yeah, I don't think you guys gave him enough applause. The things that the things he's going to be able to help pull together throughout the entire city, I think is going to be great. I think it's. There you go. There you go. The one thing I would say though, from a police department standpoint, I brought a whole bunch of these little pamphlets. They're over there. It's basically how to be prepared for an emergency. Bottom line, you need to be prepared yourself. You need to be willing and able to help yourself, and then after do that, take care of your neighbors as best you can. The police department, I can tell you, we're not going to go anywhere. If something happens, we're going to dispatch our resources as quickly and as fast as possible. The night of the fires, just so you know, there were 6 of us who were actually at a conference for the SWAT down in Anaheim. All 6 of us got called back, and all 6 of us at probably about 2 o'clock in the morning went 10-8, which means we went in service and started working. For the next, I'm going to say 72 hours, I would say that over 80% of our complement was working. And that's what we do. That's what you get paid to do, and that's what you try to do. So, you know, if something happens, we're going to be here to do the best we can. Hopefully we never have a fire situation or anything else like that again. But that's about all I have to offer right now. I'll take your questions after we're done. So.
Good evening. We're changing it up a little bit. My name is Daniel Wall. I am currently, for the next 3 days, representing the County of Ventura Public Health Department and Emergency Medical Services. In that vein, I want to talk to you about what the health department has done post-Thomas Fire and some of the interactions and corrective actions that we've been engaged in with the cities and the county. There's a lot of activity that you don't see. There's a transportation plan. There's some mapping plans that are being done of all the vulnerable populations in the city and in the county of Ventura. So there's a lot of really good things in progress that I would love to talk about in 3 days from now. I want to tell you a little bit about myself to start. I was born in Southern California. I moved to Ventura at 13 years of age, and I've come and gone from Ventura. I love this town. I went away to the military, and I came back to this town. My father taught at Ventura High School. I have 2 children. One of them is in the back, leaving the room now, running out before I call him out. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I was a medic. After getting out of the military, I decided that being a registered nurse was a logical thing, so I am a registered nurse. I have a master's degree from Cal Lutheran University recently, and I've been, for the last 15 years, in charge of what was originally the bioterrorism grant. Those are the funds after 9/11 that funded all things terrorism related. Now it is called the Preparedness Funds, and it focuses on public health emergency preparedness, community emergency preparedness, and hospital preparedness program. And so one of the things that has evolved within the county is the Healthcare Coalition. I don't know how many of you have heard of that. I know a couple of you in the room have heard of it. Vista Del Mar and a lot of the other medical facilities, group homes, RCFEs, skilled nursing facilities, are all part of that Healthcare Coalition. It is the largest in the state of California and is one of the finest pieces of work that our staff has undergone. What you have is an interconnected group of 250 plus medical facilities within the county of Ventura, all in lockstep with the Office of Emergency Services. So they have a application technology that GIS maps their status in real time. and it causes us to be very, very aware of everything that's going on in every facility simultaneously. So that's some really good work that's been done post-Thomas Fire. We actually had the technology and launched it into the Thomas Fire. Hill-Woolsey Fire occurred later, and we had a lot of successes. And so a lot of progress is being made with regard from the public health and emergency medical services perspective in the tracking of and the reunification of families and patients. There's a lot of really good stuff. When you walk into the Emergency Operations Center, and I wish I could videotape it so you all would see from my perspective, because often county government gets a little bit of a critique from folks. My neighbors are really good at going, "You work for the county," and so I wish I could like videotape and walk into the EOC and say, "All right, what do you want to know about any facility in town? Tell me the street address." Punch it in a computer and it will pop up on the screen, their last known facility, the picture of whatever went wrong with them, and it was updated every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is the technology we currently have, and it is getting better and better. I know that Joe, are you going to talk about mapping this evening? No.
Go for it. I think
Joe's like, what are you talking about? So we are mapping. So ironically, when you, if for whatever reason, if you have any kind of durable medical device and it is paid for in some sense by any federal program, which could be Medi-Cal, Medicare, a lot of those different things, we actually have access to that database. And so in an emergency, we can request that database, and we know every single person in the community in real time, because there's funds associated with it, that would have any kind of a medical device. Is that useful? As a health department and as the county of Ventura, that is extremely useful because we know where people were last. And so that when we start talking about evacuation, those technologies as we walk forward are going to be really, really critical. We will know where people are. And that, I mean, some people get a little bit concerned when county government starts talking about, we will know where you are. But there's also the critique if you knew where we were and you didn't do anything about it. And so there's some works going on, but it is all, useful to protect the population. And so that's the county side. Now I am recently told that I was discovered to be the appropriate applicant for the City of Ventura's emergency manager position. That's out of the city manager's office. It's an honor. I have been doing disaster preparedness or engaging in disaster preparedness at the federal, state, and local level for 15 years. And so it's really exciting. Suze, you took the words right out of my mouth. I will be back. There are 6 neighborhood councils. It is the primary focus from Alex McIntyre, the city manager, is to work with the 650 odd employees of the city of Ventura to get them to a national standard. Now, fire and law enforcement, they already have ICS and a lot of different accoutrements, but we really need to get all the line staff within the city. So that would be objective or goal number 1 for them. So when you come and ask any one of the employees, they know what the plan is. Educating them on the plan, the disaster plans that exist, is one of my primary goals. Not lost on me is the community engagement, which is a big part of this job. So I'm going to be working with fire and law enforcement going forward to try and figure out what are the issues related to disaster preparedness. Will I be back? Of course I will. And so I'm really excited about that. I recently got accepted into, because I have to brag, I recently got accepted into Harvard, into their National Public Leadership Initiative. That's a leadership initiative that's specifically for emergency managers working under stress. And so it's really exciting opportunity. Going forward, I wanted to tell you that I'm going to be setting goals and objectives and doing surveys of groups such as yours to really kind of get your opinion on what this role looks like, because I think that this is the first time that this role has been established in the city of Ventura. I know all the counterparts in every one of the other cities because of my current position, but I know that, and they are going to give me some good advice. We're going to sit down to lunch and talk about what they've done with their cities. I'm going to kind of take that as, that's nice, but we're going to do something better. And I already have a lot of plans and a lot of nonprofit organizations that have some funding that can support these initiatives. So there's a lot of quick wins that I'm going to make, and I'm really excited for the next 3 days to go by as quickly as possible. So go on a little vacation and then come and talk to you all again. Thank you.
Good evening. Okay, so knowing that we have 10 minutes, I'm going to share a few things with you, or 10 minutes each. I may not be that long, actually. The topic is how to plan for fire, emergencies, and disasters. And what I can say to you is that some of it is common sense, and some of it is thinking ahead. One is, first, just think about your own home. And I have a stack of handouts here that I'm going to leave with you, because really what I'm going to share with you is all covered in there in more detail. I think everyone is aware that having defensible space around their home is valuable, that it can help your house survive a wildfire. As everyone saw and doesn't need to be reminded, it's not just the fire front, it's the embers, and embers can travel half a mile, even further in some cases, depending on wind speed. So there's the obvious things like defensible space around your home, having a 100-foot buffer. For those of you who are not immediately up against the hillside, which is probably a lot of this community, and you're wondering, well, how does that affect me? The embers are what you don't want to ignite anything in your home, whether it's your gutters. So if you're going to install gutters, install metal gutters and put there's a wire covering that goes over it so you don't have leaves accumulating. Or if you have something else, clear them out. Simple things like patio furniture, and on red flag warning days or high fire hazard days, not having patio furniture just stacked up in your patio. You might have even a recently built home, and it's fire resistant construction, and you have defensible space. But if you have patio furniture and other things that can burn on your porch, just simple things like that can make a difference. And I could talk with you for an hour, but if you're interested in that topic, again, I have a handout here for everything I'm going to mention to you. The other thing is we have these information here on VC Alert. So when you hear, we may not have much time, whether it's a dam failure, it's a fire, it's whatever the hazard is, anything that county OES, the fire department, police department, anything that we're aware of that we want to push out to the community, this is one of the best tools that we have, where we can simultaneously send out a message to the community and let them know by area of the city, you need to evacuate immediately. And what I will say is, for anyone who, before any evacuation orders are issued, it's all vetted, and it means that you actually should get out. Sometimes people don't pay attention and they delay getting out. So I'd say just be alert with your home. And something else I have for you here is just information on having a kit and having a plan and being ready. So when you get that call and you get the call to evacuate immediately, have your plan on where you're going to go, have your prescriptions or have your emergency supplies ready. That's not the time for you to be making a plan. That needs to happen in advance. So the one other thing that I'll say here, and again, I'm not going to read everything that is on these handouts. You already heard from Commander Brunk, help your neighbors. How can you help your neighbors? And I mean, other than getting some handouts here, and you're going to listen to all the presenters, and you'll learn a couple things. But if you really want to prepare yourself and your community and make a significant difference in the community during a disaster, you can do that. We have a community emergency response team training that is we provide in the city twice a year. A class just started a week ago. We'll have another one in the fall, so I have information on that program so that you can sign up. It is a significant commitment. It's 6 weeks, 2.5 hours each week, and we'll get into a lot more depth into some of the things I just touched on. So with that, I'll pass it off to our Battalion Chief Miser.
All right, good evening. Whoa, sorry. I didn't realize it was as loud as it was. My name's Doug Miser. I'm one of your battalion chiefs for the city. First off, I want to thank everybody here in the room. You're only here tonight because you're fully engaged. You're here tonight because you want to make your community better, you want to make it safer, and you're engaged. And that's unto itself like completely commendable, and I really appreciate that as being one of my fellow Ventura City community members. So tonight, I wanted to kind of just give you a little bit of a layout of what the fire department does, how it does it, and I'll give you maybe some anecdotal stories in regard to disaster preparedness from my experiences here in the city. I would also kind of like to make special mention that we're super excited that Dan is going to be with us here for the city. It's a much needed position. It's been basically in a proposed budget for at least the last 10 years, and it's finally been approved. And so we're really, really excited to have somebody who can be a catalyst for the entire city in representation of the water department and streets and wastewater, police department, fire department, and put us all together and get us all on the same page. And that's what Dan's going to do, and it's going to do a great job. And we're really excited about that. I'd also like to thank the Ventura Police Department. I don't think anybody could really know the true story of what happened on the night of the Thomas Fire and the valiance that the Ventura Police Department did. It was incredible. A nearly 100% callback of every single officer who works for the city of Ventura in total. That's probably somewhere around 120 officers who came in off duty and got in squad cars, ran into burning areas without respiratory protection, without any training on this area. Pure heroism. Thank you. And then also I would like... And last but not least, I would really like to thank Joe, our fire marshal here. He's done an amazing job since he's been here with the city. He's an absolute advocate for your safety. And he is making sure that building code and fire clearances are being done to the best of our ability, that we're maintaining state certifications on ensuring that certain properties are safe, that smoke detectors work the way they're supposed to do, fire prevention. His incredible amount of work that he's done has made our job safer, and that I'm totally appreciative of too. Thank you. So I'll just let you know right now, and if you have something to throw, go for it, because I was in charge of the division for the Thomas Fire for the first 24 hours between City Hall and Ojai. And so I got a call, or actually I didn't get a call. I got a very big visual. I was heading into Ojai, and I had a bag, and my girlfriend and I were about to have dinner. And I had dinner, and I looked over, and I looked across the Ojai Valley over into Santa Paula, and I'm thinking, this isn't good. I could see basically the fire from that location. And that kind of shows you just real quick, like a quick snapshot. I got to her house, dropped off food, see you, sweetie. I'm out of here, came back here, got in a battalion chief vehicle, and ran down there. So to give you an idea, just a little bit on the perspective of how fast disasters can take place, and have an idea in your head of basically how important it is to take this information, to digest evacuation routes, to have an idea of how important being part of a CERT team is. Listen to this. So as we came across, I came back in here, I grabbed the battalion chief vehicle. Already, 2 of our battalion, so we have 3 battalion chiefs for the whole city. So that's it. Your command level is about that far. We had our fire chief, assistant fire chief, working at City Hall, or starting to form up the EOC, which was going to be at the Ventura Police Fire station, which is right off of Dowell Road. And then our training chief, or training division chief, was basically working at the EOC at that moment and then trying to put that in. So within probably, I don't know, less than an hour, we had all of the commanders for the city of Ventura basically working at that point. I started heading up, talking to the commanders, like police commanders, getting somewhat of a, hey, this is gonna hit here. The fire had not even crossed the section of there's a big valley that runs up right before you hit the Ondolando Clear Point area that had not even breached that yet. But by listening to the scanner, one of their big holds where they were going to say, hey, we're going to box this fire initially on the initial dispatch, which means that this is what the incident commander says. Okay, we're going to attempt to keep it, like let's just say we're in a fire in California. We're going to keep it between the Pacific Ocean and Nevada, and we're going to keep it, south of Oregon and north of the Mexican border. So they had boxed it, and basically the fire broke that box almost immediately. And so we knew it's coming to Ventura. And a lot of people think of Santa Ana winds as blowing offshore. I know I did, but it really didn't. When you think about where the fire started, and you have, Thomas Aquinas College, if anybody kind of knows where that is, when that fire took a run, basically it moved lateral to the city. It didn't move just to the ocean. So it's not like Camarillo is under attack, or, that we had Oxnard threatened right away. No, I was actually running sideways across here. So I started doing verbal announcements, as well as police department and everybody on our microphones, letting people evacuate. Even the sheriff's department didn't get up the evacuation signals like instantly. They had time. They didn't even have time to like really start considering this and cordoning off certain geographic locations where they can do cell phone hits and have reverse dispatch, reverse 911 calls to phones. They didn't even, it was not even getting put into place yet. And we're just driving around with microphones on our PAs out of our vehicle, our public address system, saying evacuate now. And this was starting at Ventura Heights, and I was moving that way. The fire was not in Ondolando or Clear Point. The fire was not there yet. Moments later, I get dispatched, 50-acre fire at the cross. So what that means is the fire is spotting. And the fire is spotting from one location, and the fire gets embers, and it moves up into the atmosphere, and then it lands. That fire then grows from that location, it gets mixed up into the air, and it lands. So it's hopscotching. This is why there was 3 fronts to the Thomas fire. And this is why we had fire at 11 o'clock at night, basically at the cross, 50 acres, fully established fire. And I was initially given 11 engines to protect from City Hall to Ojai. 11. Just put this into perspective, just so you can get your head around this. The entire county of Ventura at that point only has 50 engines. That's all we've got. The city of Ventura, we have a total of 23 firefighters who are on at any one particular time to guard a population of about 120,000 people. So I felt lucky. That initially was stripped down to 5. I got 5 because they had to move the other strike team over into a different location. We engaged fire starting right about, obviously we're not worried about anything other than human life at this point. All efforts are not even on engaging fire. We are engaging humans. We are getting people into cars. We're carrying people out of their houses who are disabled. We are moving this. And even in the Ondolando, I could hear it starting to hit there, and I've got 50 acres, and I'm going, man, it's gonna fill in. This fire is gonna fill in all the way through, and we're gonna, there's no way we have enough resources. We had a total of 50 strike teams ordered within 2 hours. I'll give you an idea of what 50 strike teams is. That's 250 engines. So that's LA County, LA City, Long Beach, you've got Beverly Hills, Burbank, all of Southern California and all of Northern California, as well as all of Central California, dumping their resources to come help us. That's called the mutual aid system. It's a beautiful thing. The fire service invented it. We have got it down to the point where we can make one phone call and that can trigger an entire army of firefighters to arrive here. If you remember, we had almost 1,800 firefighters here, over 800 engines over the course of the Thomas Fire. So anyway, as my main messaging here is the fire was moving at 1 acre a second. So 1 acre a second, that's a football field a second on moving. So for your takeaway here on, especially how does this apply to the West Side? How does this apply to your community? How does this apply to your area, and what does history teach us? History teaches us, especially in this particular situation, when you have the gravity of a situation that is taking place like this, do not wait to be evacuated if you have an educated idea that something major is about to happen. Start moving before you get evacuated. Make sure that you have an idea of where your personal belongings are. Make sure you know where your relatives are. Attempt to locate your animals. These are the things that we really care about, right? These are the things that we don't want to lose under any circumstances. The physical items we can worry about a little bit later. Hopefully the work that you've done prior to that, of doing the things that we talked about as far as preparing your house, the literature that we've got here of how to harden your structure. It's a term that we've got that makes it fire resistive, or as fire resistive as we can possibly do. That is what we want you to have the takeaway on. For us, when we were engaging, our number one priority was basically all the apartments along Cedar. And we took from Cedar, from City Hall, all the way, through Breakey, because we have a lot of houses back up in that area. And then as that through, we came just hopscotched towards Ojai on every active fire front that we had. We knew as soon as we basically got to the bend on Ramona, we were going to have a little bit of a break because we have a large fire break that moves across there. We also got lucky in the fact that that wind, those 50 mile an hour winds sheared basically off of the avenue. So all of a sudden it loses its power. It becomes what we call a backing fire. And it moved down quickly because we had very low relative humidity. We were on the first day of a planned 5-day Santa Ana event that turned into an 18-day Santa Ana event that happened. We were able to mitigate. We didn't lose any structures, not from City Hall back up there, except for, obviously, as soon as that fire got up into the hospital, that was one of those ones where we had a strike team up there that had engaged. They were fully engaged in that fire, and it became way too dangerous so they had to disengage, look for structure protection only from the other ones, and we lost that. But anyhow, I want to just have you guys take this home of how important it is to be prepared, how important it is for a city to make sure that they have the proper public safety elements that are involved, that makes sure that you guys stay safe on a daily, hourly, by minute basis. We'll be happy to take any of your questions that you may have.
I wanted Officer Morelli to get his full 10 minutes. So could you explain more to us? As a homeowner, there's particular ways hot wind and fire can get into your house, and the fire starts inside the house rather than outside. So I'd like you to speak to that. The other thing I'd like you to speak to is if we're evacuated, as we were, we went quickly. It was our cat wasn't ready, so, that was funny, just getting him in. But things like, should we turn off the gas? Should we turn off the water? I mean, could you exactly, obviously, we're grabbing our computers and our cat, but what do we do to protect the home in case the fire gets in or out?
Sure. So first of all, as far as hardening your home and embers, one of the best things that you can do for your house, and we do it with new construction, but most of the homes are existing, and we want to protect. We want to protect the existing homes as well. There are attic vents that you can purchase that are designed to keep embers out of your attic. There's a couple different manufacturers. They've gone through a lot of different testing. Vulcan makes one, Ember Guard, and Brand Guard, or Ember, I forget the name of that one. But so there's attic vents that you can purchase. The cost, it's relatively low, in my opinion, compared to the benefits, because if you can have the most fire-resistant structure on the outside. You could have stucco, you can have dual pane tempered glass windows, but if you get an ember in your attic, the chances are of saving a home with the limited resources that are available are not the greatest. So your attic vents, your gutters, we call those ember catchers. Vinyl gutters are probably the worst thing you can have on your home. If you have vinyl gutters, go home today and take your gutters down as a start and deal with the rain until you can put up some metal gutters with some wire mesh covering over the top. So that's the second thing you can do. Third is your defensible space. I don't know how, I know that people like privacy, and completely valid. I like my privacy at home too. Sometimes you'll see hedges that are 10 feet high because people love their privacy so much, but they have it too close to the structure. You should have at least 5 foot clear from your structure all the way down to dirt would be my recommendation. There are things like small ornamental plants and things like that that you can do and still, have your yard look nice. We love rock mulch instead of wood. So there's a few things that you can do like that, just practical steps, things that you can do to harden your home. And if you don't want to go through a retrofit like replacing your attic vents, at an absolute minimum, go purchase some wire mesh from Home Depot, that 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch wire mesh, and put it over your attic vents. Anything that's going to keep embers from getting inside the home. Most windows that you purchase today are dual pane and tempered. That provides some level of fire resistance. So again, the key is you want to create as much of a buffer as possible between you and the fire.
Does it do any good to turn your gas off before you leave?
Turning your gas off, absolutely turn your gas off. I'd say even turn your water off. What we had happen here was with all the homes burning down, with all the open gas lines and all the gas lines that were not shut off in the water, which I know is a sensitive subject, but as far as everyone doing their part, running the lawn sprinklers and, you do that and several thousand people do that. But you have homes burned down, and then you have open water just flowing in the streets from water lines that weren't shut down. So absolutely.
Now, I have solar panels, and I know there's an on-off switch on the solar on the side of the house. They should probably shut that off too.
We know what to do with those as far as the fire department. I mean, you could shut that off, but yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Evening, Pete Freeman, Westside resident, and this is for Commander Brunk. You said that all your resources were exhausted the night of the fire. I was wondering if there's any kind of mutual aid that the PD has with the Sheriff Department, Santa Barbara County, Santa Barbara City, or something, where they could get down here and help out in areas that you can't get to, because on the night of the fire, well, it was gridlock and everybody was trying to go to Stanley, it seemed like, and there was nobody to direct traffic to say, hey, we have Shell Road and other exits.
Yeah, we do have mutual aid. How mutual aid works for the police department is if we're in need of additional resources, which we were that night, we place a call into the sheriff's department. All of the sheriff's departments throughout the state of California are connected through a mutual aid agreement. And then what happens is we will ask for a request saying, hey, we need mutual aid, which we did that night. The sheriff's department then will activate and they'll call the outside agents or outside sheriff's departments, and it branches out that way. So the night of the fire, we called over to the sheriff's department. They made calls to Santa Barbara County, LA County. They also made calls to the other local agencies as far as Oxnard PD, Simi Valley PD, the sheriff's department. All of those calls were made. For the sheriff's department up in LA and for the sheriff's department up in Santa Barbara, they called Santa Barbara County Sheriffs, Santa Barbara City, all sent units to help us out.
So was it just a matter of they couldn't get here in time?
In that case, the fire,
Or CHP even, anybody?
CHP helped out as well.
Okay, 'cause, well, I'm just saying, we didn't see anybody on this side of town, but I didn't see anybody else.
And to be honest, I was on the other side of town, so
I understand
as
you
far
guys
as
were tied up, but
yeah.
I'm just wondering if you're tied up and you know you're tied up on the east end because that's where the fire started, is there any way to get resources from other areas down to this end of town, you know, in a timely manner?
They did try. They did try. How many resources got here? I don't know. I was actually driving up, so from San Diego area, and then when I got here, I went straight out to the east end of town to answer that. At that time, I was the traffic sergeant, so I was one of the guys that drove around on the motorcycles. As far as the command and control of where they dispatched everybody, I honestly couldn't tell you. But yes, there is that in place. It was initiated. How effective it was, obviously it wasn't as effective as it could have or should have been.
Okay, Dan, something to put on your list. Thank you.
Yeah, just also to mention too, as a point on that, the police departments in general have a far less frequency of amassing groups of people, and it's not something that they commonly do. So may not have come in as fast as it did, but we had the National Guard here. I mean, we had everybody from every form of law enforcement that we had. Was it as soon as it came? No, but.
I saw the National Guard out of Kimball. I mean, I saw everybody later, but I'm just wondering, is there a way to get resources here quicker? You know, I mean, Carpinteria is not far, Santa Barbara's not far. Ojai has sheriff, there's sheriff on this end of the city. So if that's addressed, and the PD says, hey man, we can only cover 2/3 of the city, can the sheriff department cover the other third of the city, or Santa Barbara or Carpinteria come from the other direction? Is there a way to do that? And I'm not saying you guys did wrong, I'm just saying it's something to look at in the future.
It also comes down to resources. For example, the night of the fire, we had 8 officers on for the entire city.
Well, I understand.
Well, no, no, I'm. Oh, you guys were crazy busy, yeah.
I know that, I've lived here for 55 years, I've never seen anything like that. But I'm just suggesting that in the future, can we look at some way to get resources here? If this PD can't cover the whole city, is there a way to get resources here quicker to cover the part of the city that they can't cover?
What I'm trying to explain is we had 8 officers on. Santa Barbara City probably had 7 officers on. Carpinteria, 3. They also have to be responsible for their city. So in a mutual aid request, as the watch commander, let's say that we had a major incident in Oxnard tonight. I have to balance out the resource needs of my city, because that's my primary responsibility, and then send those extra resources that I have available out to Oxnard. The best example I can give you would be the example of the fires last year out in Agoura. As soon as, like I said, we had between the hours of noon to midnight, We have 16 officers on the street. So our B watch, which comes on at noon, gets off at midnight. When that fire came out and we got the mutual aid request, those 8 officers that started at noon didn't go home. I sent them straight out, but I kept the 8 officers here that we had to stay watch on the city. Those 8 officers went out. They came back at about 9 o'clock the next night. And then we started cycling our officers through. So when I say it's a resource thing, it comes down, the cities up north had to watch for their protection of their people as well. Calling in people, you understand the on-call people, it's difficult. Our officers are not on call. To keep officers on call, it actually costs money. You have to pay them to be on call. With that being said, like it was very well pointed out, 80% of our complement came in. And they got resources here, so it becomes a resource issue. And that's the reality of it. So.
The Matilaha Dam was brought up a few times tonight about it being a potential hazard if it breaks. Do we know what the potential consequences of that could be? I mean, do we know how much water could make it down here, or like what are we looking at if that breaks? Is there any sort of, like, are people going to drown, or is it just going to wash cars away, or like what?
And also, I'll be honest with you, I'm not super vetted or familiar with all the elements. I know that there's so much silt in there, and it's so built up. I don't think the traditional element of what you consider a dam being looks the same. I'll tell you this, like, we're in charge, we do prevention and disaster preparedness. This is what we do for a living, right? I mean, like, we better be good at it. It is not a huge focus on any of the county. So Matilaha is obviously the county, and the county is going to be, county fire would be the ones who are going to be the major players and stakeholders in that particular one we'd be working in is that. To my knowledge, they are not, or at least to my awareness, this has not been one of their major target hazards, like many other target hazards that are there. So I would imagine that, I'm not saying it's not an issue, it's just not something that's been brought to my attention, thinking that it's probably on the risk level, it's a fairly low risk element. But I don't know that for sure.
Right. I was just wondering, the likelihood of it breaking is not great, but if it does, what would be the potential of what could it cause the damage?
I don't know.
You don't.
I don't know.
Where would it go and all that?
Sign up for BC Alert so that as soon as we know and we have a message to send out, we'll get it out to you and have that here for you.
Hi, I'm Matt. I live on West Finch Street between Olive and Ventura Avenue. I was here during the fire, and it was really interesting to hear your perspective because it really matched up, obviously, with what I was experiencing. I was stuck right here on the avenue, trying to come down. I tried to organize some cars to come into the northbound lane because there's no traffic going up north, and a sheriff told me I was out of line, and I immediately followed his orders and got back in line. But I was watching that fire over at the cross coming down and thinking there's only one way out of this neighborhood, right? And it was the scariest moment of my life. Meanwhile, I think I was right here stuck, and I was watching this fire come down right behind, right here. And so, I mean, this has been a while now, and I really appreciate everything that you guys did. I have so much admiration for you guys. It's more of a question for you, really. We're coming into 2020 soon, and we don't even have any signage on how to get out of this neighborhood. This is the most dangerous neighborhood for fires. I remember that wind stopping. I was 100% convinced that the avenue was going to burn down, and it was almost like, I'm not a religious person, but it was like a divine intervention. All of a sudden the wind stopped, and change direction, and I couldn't even believe it, right? It was a wonderful thing later on in the night. But that said, I mean, we've come to I don't know how many meetings and told folks about ideas like stoplights, like train lights up above the avenue that are battery powered, where we could have one direction out. Because as soon as I got to Main Street, there were absolutely no cars whatsoever on Main Street. I'm driving down empty Main Street, seeing 70-foot flames behind City Hall. I was the only car in the street. The whole reason we were blocked up was because everyone else was trying to take a different direction, right? And so there's just simple things that we understand, when it isn't, an act of God, there's not going to be enough personnel to support us. But there's just basic things that I think we've been waiting really patiently for that really should already be set up. We should have Spanish and English signs with that map that we've been given with the arrows about where you should be going. Those should be all over the neighborhood. They should be on every other block, and they should be large. We should have battery-powered stoplights that could give people a go-ahead to get the hell out of here. Because I don't like just yelling at folks. I work for the government too, and I know how it works sometimes, But I also I'm scared, whenever I hear about a fire now, I get that adrenaline rush, right? And I really feel for everyone that's dealing with that. But in this neighborhood, it's such a unique neighborhood where we have absolutely no way to get out of here except for this one little tiny ancient river mouth right here. And if we can't get out, we're all going to burn. It's going to be very similar to what we saw in Paradise. And that's not going to be me. And I want this to really be the number one priority for Ventura, because it doesn't make any sense to me why it wouldn't be. When we have, 12 or 13,000 people just nestled up in this tiny little narrow valley with one exit. It needs to get done ASAP. And I came here tonight, I worked all day. I came here tonight thinking there was going to be a little bit more of a plan. To me, it doesn't sound that much different from the meeting that we had 2 years after the fire, right before the landslide. I think you were here. Weren't you at this? No, it wasn't you? Okay. The guy that looks like you. They were pretty much saying the same thing. They told us a little bit about what happened that night. They told us about the personnel. Nothing but sympathy there. But we really haven't made much progress from what I could see as just a regular resident of Ventura. And it's on your watch now to get this done. And we need it done. I'm not kidding. 100%. We thought that we were going to burn alive that evening when we were stuck and we could not get out. Flames coming down the hillside right here. Watching the cross up there, watching the park, seeing it come down, thinking that it was about to just jump over the avenue, and then I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. So let's get it done. And I'm sorry if I'll shut up and hear what you have to say for a second. Yeah.
I truly hear what you're saying. I really, being honest, I'm really blessed to have just received this job. Mm-hmm. I have worked for 15 years for the health department. During the Thomas fire, I sat at the fairgrounds in the middle of the night, all through the night, 200 hours of overtime in 2 weeks. I was right here with you. Mm-hmm. This job is really a blessing for me because I've lived in Ventura most of my life. And I feel like I need to come to the 6 different council meetings that represent the residents of the city of Ventura, mm-hmm. and we can make some changes. Yeah. And we can, there are some, I don't want to sound like a government person, say there's 2 sides to every story, but a tsunami reverses the evacuation route. And so that's also a very real consideration. So there's a lot of interaction that we're going to have. Yeah. Me, and I say me because it's just me. I don't have a staff. And I'm okay with that. But I'm going to do some survey work with you as a group and bring that message back to the city manager to say, here's the goals and objectives from their perspective. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do to answer them? And I think that everybody working together can come up with some solutions. I'm not 100% sure because you start looking at all the different threats. We have to look at it as a multi-threat kind of situation, a multi-hazard situation. And so a tsunami would cause you to evacuate the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. An earthquake, it's going to have multiple components to it. And so we will come up with some solutions into the future. I can guarantee that. And so I'll be back. And we'll have conversations. I started on the 21st, but I understand the the passion in your voice as far as what's the answer. Don't just placate me with words. And so
Yeah.
I will come back and we will do some surveys and we'll say, look, here's the message that this community, Westside wants.
You just have to understand they've come and surveyed us, not like in a formal sense, but we've asked what happened to the alarm that used to be in the neighborhood, right? We've asked when are we actually going to have some type of a escape route, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm really happy that you're going to be doing that. But what is there like a timeline on when we could expect this to be done, or no? And then I'll shut up. Sorry.
So in any one starting of a job that hasn't previously existed, I have to create a strategic plan. Engagement of the community is part of that strategic plan. I was given some specific directives by the city manager's office related to their perspective of what the job required. And then building on that in layers, it obviously has to engage the public because this position has an own responsibility to the public. And to engage you all and in a dialogue to say, here's the citizens' concerns and what are we doing about it as a city. And so some of the answers are going to be good and some of them are going to be like, well, you know, they are what they are. But at least we will have that conversation and that communication. And all the agencies involved in the city are all trying to do the right thing. I'm the one to try and move the needle. That makes sense? I will be back.
It does. It's just I think you need to prioritize the West Side. We're in the most dangerous position, and I would really like to hear a timeline. Hopefully, you could figure that out soon. That could be something that could be your top priority.
Within the first 90 days of me being on this job, we will have a strategic plan that will outline how that community engagement is going to occur.
Okay.
It'll be a published document.
And the first day of your job is when again?
The 21st of October.
Okay, so January 21st.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Let that be part of the record.
I'm going to be really quick. I just have an announcement because some people were looking for, I don't know if this is working, but my voice is, there we go. Was looking for the evacuation plan, and they've been so popular. They're out over there, but we asked our Honorable Councilwoman Sophia over here, and she said they can be found on the city police department website, the evacuation plan. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. Thanks, Sophia.
There's an awful lot of people on the west side of Ventura that don't own vehicles. I live about 5 blocks closer this way on Olive from Matt. And I was ordered to evacuate by, I believe, a highway patrol officer. And I had to roll in my wheelchair, which should have taken about 12 minutes to get to the fairgrounds. It took me 40 minutes because it was dark and traffic wasn't starting. And I got there with my oxygen concentrator and was told to go home because I could not plug it in. So the disproportionate number of people on this side who don't have vehicles need to be somehow included in a proper evacuation plan. Tsunami comes, I know I'm a goner. I'm just going to wait. I'll swim the best I can. But that circumstance was wrong. For them to tell me I can't use the electric power of the fairgrounds for my oxygen while people have cell phones plugged in all over them.
Yes, ma'am. So the Office of Emergency Services is currently working on, with a consultant group, a transportation plan for vulnerable populations or those with access and functional needs. And so they are currently working on a written plan to address those concerns. The Public Health Department is currently collaborating with the CEO's office to work on a medical shelter plan that has a component of support for durable medical equipment to include electricity for oxygen concentrators specifically. And so I don't want to stir up a can of worms here, but the public safety power shutoff, this PSPS thing that Edison is walking towards us, or Southern California Edison, sorry, is walking towards us, is another opportunity to have engage in a conversation. and maybe it'll end up being a forum just like this. But there is work being done at the health department level to assess the community from that perspective, and I completely understand and hear what you're saying as far as that was not an acceptable answer, and we are working on a solution for it. So nobody should be turned away. Ma'am?
Keep us compliant when you're making those plans. Get some of us involved so we can talk to you about our needs. So it's not just an intellectual plan.
Right, and that's the Department of Health and Human Services Agency of Ventura County. I will only be engaged in that process while I'm an employee there, but I will bring back these ideas to the county. That is part of the conduit, and from my perspective, one of the responsibilities of this job is to come to you and say, what are your needs, so I can bring them back to the agency and address them properly. Okay?
I'll make it brief. I want to thank, first of all of you to show up tonight because you knew you were going to be under the gun. And I really appreciate you being a new member of the city staff. We desperately need you. But I have concerns, and I was the one that asked James if we could do this tonight, because when we had the last one, it was wholly inadequate. We did not get resources nor answers, and it was done just post-Thomas fire. It was like within a couple of months afterwards, and that's when we came up with, no offense, Commander, it was a really crappy evacuation map. I've got a traffic background, and the suggestion I have is just take all the traffic, instead of doing it that way, just shut down the avenue and have it all go one way and use the other emergency vehicles on Olive. If we could do that. From a traffic perspective engineering, that works. But also, I'm looking at what's happening over here on the west side of town. There's a lot of developments coming in, which means a lot more people and a lot more congestion. And I think it's only going to get worse over here. So working with you, working with Jeff Herford, working with PD and Fire, we all need to work together to make this thing work and make it cohesive. And I am so thankful that Alex hired you, because you are going to be the linchpin in all of this to drag it together. All the other agencies, we all talk, but we don't have anybody that is actually coordinating the effort. So I am thankful that you're here. I'm glad that they hired you. I just want to keep you aware of the fact, with all the growth that's going to be happening over here on the west side, to take that in consideration, and especially down past Stanley. It's going to be totally impacted, and that traffic down there is going to come to a screeching halt until we finally finish the Stanley widening project. So I'm the only one working on it currently. If anybody wants to work with me, feel free, because I'm now working with about 7 different partners to get that thing realigned, and everybody's at the table. So work with me. I'm appreciative. And thanks to fire and police that don't have the resources they need, and they need to get more. So thank you for you guys showing up.
Topic of conversation with my friends in the neighborhood. Nobody knows how to get out of the neighborhood. We're in Brock Hills, and in terms of communications, I don't think I've seen this in the mail. I try to keep track of all the information that comes through, but I really recommend whatever plan is the working plan, please communicate it to everybody, whether it's mail. Not everybody looks at email, not everybody looks at text. But the VC alert is really good, and this is a really good thing for people to know about if this is the plan. So, and I thank you all for your service. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Please give it up one more time for our Ventura's finest. Thank you very much. And you guys will be here at the end of to answer questions, further questions. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you so much. So we have additional items. We have Jackie Pierce. We're just going to kind of get this thing going. We also have Gerardo with the mirror project. Jackie will be talking about the Adopt a Block, what is this? Yeah, VPLA as well. I don't know which one you're going to be doing.
Okay, actually, I'm going to put off the Adopt a Block program for another meeting because it's a little bit lengthier in discussion. I'm Instead, I just want to give you guys announcements for this month of October. There's a few different things taking place. One of them is the neighborhood cleanup event. It's our biannual neighborhood cleanup event that the Westside Community Development Corporation puts together. It'll begin at 71 Bell Way, right across the way over here, on October 12th. And that is an opportunity for such as the things that were mentioned with our panel, you know, getting rid of debris or things that are collective and hazardous to have. Speaking of hazardous, there will be a hazardous waste collection here on the west side as well. We've never had that before, and due to some advocacy that we now have through Sofia Rubalcaba, we brought the event to our neighborhood. And again, you know, these are things that we don't want to be storing up in our homes or in our side yards. It will be at the Avenue Adult Center simultaneously. So, you know, it's kind of, you know, drop off one thing at one location, drop off the other stuff in the other location. If you need assistance, we are going to partner up again with our partners, with Rafael Robles. He used to be City Kids, and now it is New Communities. So nonetheless, volunteers that will be available to help. And if that's the case that you need assistance, just call the WCDC's office, which is located on this, that number is located on the flyers. Another event that's happening on October 12th is the Changemaker Day. So it's basically a day for everybody to get out and kind of, you know, I get the fun job. I know this was very tense, and I feel like I'm not dismissing that. That's information, you know. But okay, the fun stuff is we all get to rally up and, you know, go out and do some tasks, you know, graffiti removal, mural preparation, mulching Kellogg Park. We want to, you know, we love our Kellogg Park. It needs new mulch, you know, business outreach. So anyways, if you want to help on that day and be active and meet some other neighbors and doing some little goodwill projects on the west side, take a flyer. And then lastly, and David, with Bell Arts Factory and the Westside Community Development Corporation, we've teamed up, and we have Va por la Avenida coming on October 19th. And you could see here on this poster that it is a seasonal event happening every quarter with beautiful, wonderful themes that are relevant to the avenue. So it's art walk meets block party kind of theme-ish. And I don't know if you want to say something else about it, David, but it's an exciting opportunity for the avenue just to get out and celebrate who we are. And Va por la Avenida is kind of like, let's go Avenue, celebrate us. And then there's a tenant rights workshop that's also taking place, flyers over here, so if you know anybody who needs to address issues with tenant rights, either a landlord or a tenant, that's a workshop that's taking place and a resource. But come on over here, David, to talk more about the Va por la Avenida. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Yoshitomi. I'm the board chair of Bell Arts Factory. Thank you all for being here tonight. I just, as Jackie was talking about, and you have it doubled up here, but Va por la Avenida is kicking off on October 19th. We want to do something completely different here for the Avenue. This is an event that is designed to celebrate the Avenue, celebrate the diversity, celebrate the businesses, and celebrate the sense of community that's here, along with integrating the art into all of those things. So it's a grant that we wrote with the WCDC. It is funded by the California Arts Council. It's a Creative California Communities grant. And what we're trying to do here is to reaffirm the West Side, and specifically Ventura Avenue, as the cultural and creative epicenter of the city of Ventura. So it's an ambitious project, but we're very, very excited about it. And to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing, is designed to integrate art in different ways that you would not normally see it. So generally when you go into an art exhibit, you'll see art on the walls and maybe meet the artist. But what we want to do is bring art to the community in different ways. So maybe we'll bring art classes to the laundromat across the street. So while parents and children are in the laundromat doing the laundry, instead of on the iPads, they're actually learning art classes. And another thing that we're working on right now is trying to develop some creative coding classes. So anybody can come in and learn how to do creative coding and learn art in a digital way as opposed to painting and ceramics and some of the more traditional methods. So everything is in development. We have 8 events total, as you can see here. The first one kicks off on the 19th. We begin at Kellogg Park at 12 o'clock. We have Ballet Folklorico and Danza Azteca, and then we have live music going on, and then we'll have art classes in the park. From there, our businesses will be opening up and doing different types of things. Bike Hub is involved. I believe some of the tattoo parlors are doing temporary henna tattoos. We're working on having the senior center or the adult center open as well, and doing something here at Bell Arts. We'll be doing open studios, and then at 8 o'clock we will be having a Teatro de las Americas is doing a play on the ofrenda and the altar. So it's a short 15-minute play, but it really kind of ties everything together, what we're doing here. So I appreciate the time that you guys are giving me. And what we do need help with is volunteers. We need volunteers to help set up and break down at Kellogg Park. The city's been gracious enough to let us use it for a very small fee, but we do need to rally. So James is going to hand out a sign-up sheet, and anything you can do to help us contribute. This is a free event for the community, so there's no charge to anybody, so we're looking for community support to come help us. So I'll be available after the meeting if you have any questions and want to talk to me more. But thank you.
Thank you, David. Geraldo, and then Liz, and then we'll be all set.
I'll be very quick. Just wanted to let you know that we have... Okay, back to the sexy voice. Just wanted to give you an update on our mural beautification project. We have a new mural going on at the end of Park Row. The total cost of the mural is $3,500, and we have about $2,700 so far raised for that mural. If you want to help contribute and make that mural a reality, please see me after. The title of the mural is called Westside Wonders. I'm more than happy to show you an image of it as well after the meeting. Second, I want to thank the person who at the last meeting sponsored a new tree to go up on Ventura Avenue, actually on Olive Street. And so last month somebody purchased a tree for $170, and we planted it, Gold Medallion Cassia, on Olive and Simpson. Lastly, we have a community orchard initiative. So in January, we're going to be planting a community orchard, a total of 50 trees. Total cost for the project is $37.50 or $75 a tree. If you want to be a part of this, either by helping plant the tree or purchase a tree, please see me after. Thank you.
We've got a question.
It's a surprise. I can't give it away yet. It's in District 1. That's all I could say.
Hey, thank you, Geraldo. Okay, Liz, our final presenter.
So earlier, Suze mentioned the senior strategic plan. The information about the survey is on these flyers. Anyone who is a senior or feels like a senior, please take one and do the survey. There's open-ended or an open box at the bottom to say anything you want. This is our opportunity to get the city to pay attention to the needs of all the seniors in the community. And if you don't do online, if you can't go to their website, you can call the senior services at the city or drop by the senior center on the avenue, and they will have copies of the survey you can fill out and mail back. Okay.
And thank you, Liz. And then finally, we have First Fridays here at the Bell Arts. So please support your local artists and your local nonprofits and come to First Fridays. All right, so our next meeting is November 6th, and that's going to be at 6:30, same time, same place. And it's our election meeting, so please come if you're a member. If you need to know if you're a member, please see me afterwards. I can look it up here if you have paid your dues and so forth. Okay, I'd like to thank the Ventura Police Department, Ventura Fire Department, and Dan Wall, our new emergency manager. Again, thank you guys for coming, and that's a wrap. Thank you.